Meeting you where you are. The meaning behind the slogan is that we meet the community where they are on their journey towards holistic health, a plant-based lifestyle, and veganism, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. We do this through people, food, events, and culture. Our 6 pillars are birth, eating, education, empowerment, enlightenment, and events. We are Black Veg Society.
Peace and blessings, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Let me help you, a loved one or friend, find your vegan soul through food, people, events, and culture. Today, we're talking about our women going through perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause. Look, you are not broken. So today's episode is going to be about reframing menopause for modern women. And I have my guest and friend here today, certified nurse practitioner, Eboni McCoy Staton, the owner, founder of State of the Body LLC. Eboni, what's going on?
What's going on? Thank you so much for having me on your platform. I'm really happy to be here and to debunk some myths that can help set women free. So thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Eboni, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and this functional medicine? What is that?
So my name, as you mentioned, is Eboni McCoy Staton, and I have been a nurse practitioner for about, I think we're going on 8 years, since 2017. Yep, 2017. So I've been a nurse practitioner for a while, maybe 9 years at this point. I'm not doing the math correctly. And I have been very passionate as a nurse before I was a nurse practitioner about preventative health. So my whole goal was to not have anybody sick. I wanted everybody to be well, and I was trying to figure out how I could do that. And so went into nursing, went to nurse practitioner school, graduated from the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. And I wanted to go into the track that I took is adult gerontology primary care. So I wanted to go into primary care. Once I went into doing clinicals for primary care, I saw that we weren't really doing primary care. We were doing secondary and tertiary care. So basically, patients would have a disease process like diabetes or COPD or asthma, and we were kind of just maintaining the disease process. We weren't getting to the root of why they had the disease process, nor trying to figure out if we could cure it. And so, I finished the program and everything. I went into cardiology for a little while, and I just wasn't passionate about it. And I relocated to Maryland, where I joined with a chiropractor. And actually, that's where I met Naijha. And that was just totally transforming for my mindset and how I looked at people healing without the use of medications. So I'm like, okay, this is the route for a chiropractor, but how can a nurse practitioner do this? So I started looking into different programs, integrative medicine, and functional medicine. And so functional medicine essentially is, and I may be getting a little bit ahead of ourselves with the interview, but it is a patient-centered, science-based approach to healthcare where you have a complaint, right? I have bloating, my hair is thinning, I'm gaining weight, and I don't understand why. I'm doing all the right things. Just all these different complaints. And it's like, okay, now let's see what the root of that issue is so that we can eradicate the symptom that you're having. So I don't just treat symptoms like they do in traditional medicine, where they you come in with a symptom, they give you a medication for it. You come in with a symptom, they give you a medication for it. No, I look at the blood work and I look at different specimens to see what is the root of the issue and then target that root.
Yes, yes, and I can definitely testify on that because you did an amazing job with helping me with some things at home. You know, we had to reach out to you one time. You know, because my husband Greg was going to through some things, and definitely, like hands down,
Uh-huh.
I recommended you to a couple of other friends that were
Mhm.
looking for this functional medicine type of service. So yeah, folks, hand down. Ebony is amazing. I've been
Mhm.
going to chiropractic works now, total advanced total health care for several years because
Mhm.
I had miscarriages before I had my blessing of a daughter, Pia, turned 40. So I've been going to them ever since, and that's how I've been connecting, how I connected with Ebony, and such an amazing spirit.
Mhm.
Now, while I was going through my pre perimenopause phase and all that other stuff, I never even thought to turn to you to ask, about any of this. So I kind of went through it on my own. Asked mom, of course, because mom's been through it, and just trying to search on my own. Um, so I was going through it, and I was
Yeah.
working with my holistic specialist on things. He was prescribing herbs and all that type of stuff, and I just had to go through it. You describe menopause as a transition rather than a crisis.
Mhm.
When women are going through it, it feels like a crisis. We don't know what's going on. We're just going through this thing. Why is that reframing so important for women to hear? How can you speak to that? Because many women have issues with trying to find assistance or help or guidance in dealing with this when they're in the perimenopause phase, because that's what I
Mhm.
was going through it.
Mhm. And even in your perimenopause phase, you got pregnant with your blessing. So
Yes.
that's another thing as well. So it's already telling you that your body is still functioning and can still reproduce. You understand what I'm saying? We just need to look at, well, how can I treat my body differently? And we'll get more into that. But the reason that I say that it's more of a transition rather through a crisis, for 30 plus years, your ovaries were producing eggs, right? And so, as you start to go through perimenopause and menopause, your body is moving from reproduction to preservation, right?
Mm.
And so that's why I say that it's a transition rather than a crisis. You want your body to preserve itself. And now because it is preserving itself and you're aware of that, now you can start to take care of yourself differently in this preservation phase. It's like, you know what? I'm just a girl. I'm a flower. How do I preserve myself during this time? How do I treat myself? How do I get the proper amount of sleep, the proper amount of hydration, the proper amount of food? You understand what I'm saying? How do I treat myself kindly during this transition time? Is you're not crazy. You're just moving into a different phase of life. First phase, you go through puberty. Second phase, you have your pregnancies and you grow your family. And now I'm in, okay, preservation. How do I preserve myself for these latter days? Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yes, it does. And many of us, many women, we don't realize that perimenopause can start years before our period stops. What are some early signs that women may overlook or dismiss? Because I know when I was going through this, of course, the menstrual cycle was crazy. I remember one time it was weeks. You had weeks going on.
Right, right. Exactly. So early signs can be very subtle. I think the biggest issue that we have with our healthcare personally, not I'm not talking about like the big system. I'm talking about personally is we just brush things off. We think, okay, well, I'm 30, so my body should be acting like this. I'm 40, my body should be acting like this. And so we have to stop doing that. The moment that we see that something is abnormal or we don't like, we need to go and we need to reach out to someone to see if they can give us any answers about that. So, in the perimenopause phase, you may have dealt with irregular periods. You may have had increased anxiety, poor
Yeah.
sleep, irritability, heavy or shorter cycles. Um, you could have weight gain despite doing all the right things, and that
Yes.
can be brushed off as, well, I'm just stressed. I have a lot going on at work, or I have a lot going on at home. Or
Yes.
it could be, brushed off as just a part of aging. And because the generation before us did not speak as openly about health concerns like we are now, you don't know that this is, you know, a natural process that's going on with menopause. You understand what I'm saying? And so
Yes.
if you're more aware of the symptoms, then you will know, like, hey, I'm not supposed to be anxious. I'm not supposed to be feeling stressed out. And so what can I do to change these things? There are certain things that you can't change, and there are things that you can change. And so you need to focus on that. That's the biggest point, or the takeaway that I want to bring with this conversation, is when you see something is abnormal, keep talking to people until you get an answer. Don't settle for, oh, well, you're at that age, or, well, this is no, it's not normal. You're supposed to live an abundant life. You understand what I'm saying? And so you need to figure out who's going to partner with you in order to help you live that abundant life with your health care.
I love that you say that partnership, because a lot of times, if you're a woman in a relationship, if you're married, your spouse or your partner is that one that's going through this with you. And men typically don't understand what's going on with women anyway. But they need to learn this so they can understand, because the misconception is you don't work no more, you're broken, or whatever, this thought process in their head, not understanding that men go to their menopause too. They be going through their stuff too
Okay.
at that age. You emphasize that menopause is about more than just estrogen, or I'm not sure, but people tend to talk about that because your estrogen decreases. Can you explain why? Looking at the whole hormone picture matters? Because that's the first thing they say. You got to get an estrogen replacement. Like all of this. And before you answer that, I'll tell you one situation that I had to go through after I went through this process. I go to Live Now Fitness in Elkridge. Shout out to Live Now. And they had a menopause workshop. And let me tell you something, like over 50, 60 women showed up online for this, because everyone had issues, like
Right.
from the gut, like all types of stuff. And I know I was having a lot of gut issues. So I
Right.
had to pull back on some things that I was eating, namely a lot of gluten.
Right.
Gluten was one. And then I noticed that, oh, well, I have to work out more. I
Right.
have to make sure I'm working out three
Right.
times a week, and strength
Right.
training, and making
Right.
sure I'm continuing my good eating habits. Talk about this with this estrogen and things that people have to do to get better.
And before I jump into that, I did another menopause talk. I was invited to a tea party, and I did a menopause talk. And what I was enlightened by the women. These women were in their late 60s and 70s, but they told me that if you were crazy, if the wife was crazy or acting crazy, or the man couldn't figure out what was going on with her, they could go and put her away. This was,
What?
yes, in Crownsville. This is what she was telling me.
Wow.
I said, do what? Not knowing that they were just going through a hormonal shift, and the woman itself herself couldn't understand it, let alone a man understand it. And they like, oh, well, she's crazy, put her away. I was blown away when they told me that. I was like, what?
That's insane.
Crazy. So, like, to your point, the men need to understand as well that this is not just, you just want to sit around and be anxious and irritable and depressed all day and different things like that. There's a transition that's going on, and you need that support. So, to your question, estrogen drops, right? Which is why you have the hot flashes, the vaginal dryness, those different types of things, right? But The first hormone that drops is progesterone. That's what drops first. That
Mhm.
affects your sleep and that can cause the anxiety. You
Yes.
also have a shift in your cortisol, which is your stress hormone, and that can rise and worsen hot flashes and weight gain. Then you have the thyroid hormone that influences energy and metabolism. So if we just focus on estrogen, we're missing cortisol, we're missing the thyroid hormone, we're missing progesterone, we're missing testosterone. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So
Yes.
yes, we look at the estrogen because that's probably what's screaming the loudest, but these other hormones are screaming just as well. And just imagine if you got the thyroid hormone, your cortisol, your progesterone, and your testosterone level, you likely wouldn't be having all the symptoms that you're having because we've also addressed those hormones.
I'm glad you said that because those were things that my holistic practitioner was pointing out, and those are the things that I worked on. So he mentioned something about progesterone, cortisol, things like that. I worked on those things. That's why it's always good to have. You can have your medical doctor, but holistic practitioners and functional medicine practitioners such as yourself are very important because it gives you the whole picture, because
Right.
I'm not sure how much training these medical doctors have gotten on this, and I don't think it's much. I have a question here. Hey, Leah, thank you for tuning in. Are there things that your gym can prescribe to help with this? I'm not sure if they can prescribe things. I know my gym, they just brought in a person that could talk about menopause from their specialty background. But how would you answer this, Ebony?
I think it's a good question. It's one of the questions that, we were gonna talk about. But one of the biggest things that you want to do is you want to start developing some healthy habits. So lifting, lifting weights at least 3 times a week. That you don't need a prescription for this unless you have like a heart condition or different things like that. You know what I'm saying? But you want to make sure that you're lifting weights. You also want to make sure that you're getting enough protein. You got to make sure that
Yes,
you're getting
this is
enough
where the
protein.
protein is important, especially for us vegans. Where do you get your pro? We get a protein from many places, but it is very important. Absolutely.
Yeah. So you've got to get your protein in. You also need to make sure that I always want to encourage women to the protein will help to balance the blood sugars and your hormones. You also want to add fiber and veggies to your diet as well, which will help with the hormones. And then your essential fats. This will all help. So it's if you're eating fast food, processed food, those different types of things, that's what you have to stop doing. So the prescription is going to look like, more whole food, plant based. I am not vegan. I do eat meat. You know what I mean? So I think I'm going to steer more into that direction, but I don't want to get too heavy into that. But you want to eat foods that balance your blood sugar, that support muscle. You want to make sure that you work out and you lift weights. It's very important for perimenopausal, postmenopausal, and menopausal women to lift weights, eat protein, eat fiber. So I'm not saying anything about medication. I'm just saying some lifestyle changes. If you could start with that, I think you'll see a very big difference. I know you will see a very big difference with your symptoms.
I can agree with you 100% on that, because I
Mhm.
noticed when the times that I wasn't doing my training. So where I go, it's strength, definitely strength training, high intensity fitness. We're lifting weights, doing, you know, all that cardiovascular with the weight. And it makes a difference when I go. When I don't go,
Okay.
I can feel the buildup of the stress and anxiety. And, eating is eating. Like, I'm consistent and good at my eating, especially now that I've removed certain things from my
Yeah.
diet that I
Mhm.
know will
Mhm.
affect my gut. I'm also
Right.
one of those that's going to do the prebiotic, the postbiotic. the probiotic. Like, so I
Right.
do that type of stuff.
Right.
And I eat my proteins, whether it's the tofu or the beans or the
Right.
tempeh or,
Mhm.
the just egg, pea protein, soy protein,
Right.
not too much of the wheat protein, very little of it. But I'm definitely big on that. And Lee, I see you with the questions. The For the question that Leah has about holistic approaches, because she has two questions here. She has, what are the holistic approaches, and do you suggest blood work more often during this time?
Yeah. I think that's really good. I'm going to answer the blood work question first. You need to get baseline blood work first of all. Um, which I usually do a general screening, which is a lot more information than your traditional provider will give you. So I'm looking at your C-reactive protein, I'm looking at your homocysteine levels, which if those are elevated are increased risk for myocardial infarction, so a heart attack and stroke. I'm looking at your blood chemistry to see what your neutrophils and your lymphocytes look like, because you could develop foam cells, which could put you at risk for atherosclerosis. So I'm looking at the blood work in a way that uh is triggering in my mind, does this person have inflammation, and then what chronic diseases could they develop if we don't treat this inflammation? So we need baseline blood work. And then after you get the baseline blood work and I see what's going on with you from a metabolic standpoint, then we move into supplementation, and then we talk about dietary changes as well. So blood work is at least one time, and then after the 90 days that you've worked with me, this is how I do it, and then once a year from there. The how often you get blood work done is going to be dependent upon what kind of protocol you're on. So but the blood work is protocol driven, but everybody needs baseline blood work. Does that answer that question?
Lee, I hope you're good with that. And then for the holistic approaches. I mean, for me, my personal experience, I've always had a holistic specialist in my life. When I moved to Maryland, well, actually, when I met my husband, Greg, because we're holistic wellness and health.
Right.
That's how we live. Our daughter is also holistic wellness and health. We do have medical practitioners, but we always go to our holistic specialist who's going to break down what we've received from our medical practitioner, because their thought process is just totally different, and it's about the whole body, mind, and spirit. And
Yeah.
that's how it works for us. It may not be for everybody, but it is for us.
Right. So she said, what are the holistic approaches? Everybody's, in this talk right here, Naja's holistic approach and Leah's holistic approach are going to look different because they're two different women. And that's what's kind of an issue with the traditional healthcare system. If you come in with hot flashes and Leah comes in with hot flashes, y'all both getting the same treatment. Whereas if you're dealing with a holistic provider, your treatment is going to be tailored to you. Leah's treatment is going to be tailored to Leah. So the most holistic approach, if you're not seeing a holistic provider, is to at least change the way that you're eating and to also lift weights. But you have to see a provider in order to know what the approach is going to be specifically for you. And that's what I love about functional medicine. It's not cookie cutter.
Right.
Because while my cholesterol is elevated, is not going to be the same reason if you have high cholesterol. So we
Right.
have to address each person as an individual, if that makes sense.
I love it. I hope that's answering your questions, Leah. They're very good questions. So talking about from the functional medicine perspective, what lifestyle factors tend to make menopause symptoms worse? So we talked about things that people can do that make it better, and which ones can make the biggest difference.
So it's just the opposite of that. So if you're chronically stressed, and I can give you examples of that, poor sleep. So if you're not going to bed at the same time every night and waking up at the same time in the morning, if you have the ability to take a nap or just rest just decompress for 15 minutes. You understand what I'm saying? Throughout the day. That also can be a factor. If you're eating processed foods, if you live a sedentary lifestyle, so you're just sitting on the couch, you're not getting out. Even though it's cold outside, we still should get out there. And not just to shovel snow. We should go walk around the block, allow our body to adjust to the temperature that is outside. You know what I mean? We should go to the gym, work out. We should go swimming. We should get to the beach, put our feet in the sand, just get out and move. That's the biggest thing, not living a sedentary lifestyle. Those things can, with not doing those things, can significantly worsen the symptoms. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense to me because I noticed the difference when I started changing into a more active lifestyle in terms of working out, and definitely adjusting my eating style, even though, I consume no animal products and I live a plant-based lifestyle. If you're eating too much processed foods or you're eating things that really don't work well with your body, you can definitely see the difference. And those herbs, because I remember my holistic specialist recommending certain herbs. I think black cohort was on there. And let me tell you, because when I had those menstrual cycles that I couldn't understand, and then I'm off and then back on again, I'm like, what is going on? Like, this is like, it just, messes up your whole routine.
Right.
And very important. Folks, I just want to let you know that this is not going to be the last time we have this conversation. We at Black Biz Society are working on a program to discuss this. We do have a board member, Crystal Foreman, who we're going to be partnering with to deliver more information on, especially how, food plays a role in this. Because, that was one of the questions that I wanted to ask you about food playing a big role, and some simple nutritional shifts you recommended. We already talked about eating the plant-based diet. Was there anything? All I can tell you is what I eat. I'm a big super fruit person. I love avocado. It's like avocado every day.
Yes.
Definitely the protein, wherever that's coming from, that's plant-based. So it's the beans, if it's the tofu, if it's the tempeh, if it's the super grain like the quinoa, if it's the soy, anything that I can see a lot of tofu in. Look, we in the age of Gemini, ChatGPT. You can search this stuff and it'll come up.
Yeah.
Very easy. But if you want to add something to it, feel free.
Okay, yes. I wanted to say two things. I wanted to talk about stress.
Yes, that's what I was going to talk about next. Stress and sleep.
Okay. Yeah, I will wait. I will wait
Yes.
then.
Yes.
I do want to say something about the food. Naijha is plant-based. I right now eat more of a paleo type style diet, anti-inflammatory. So based on my blood work, my iron levels were low, my cholesterol was elevated, and what I was told by my provider, it was that I wasn't eating enough red meat. And so I do grass fed. I go to a local farm here, Hidden Water Farms in Pikesville, where they practice regenerative farming. And so everything with them is organic. So I do eat grass fed meat. I get a box every month of grass fed meat. And then I eat lots of veggies. I used to do a lot of beans and a lot of quinoa just for my blood work and what I had going on. This was the best dietary recommendations for me. So if you are not plant based and you do eat meat, I highly recommend getting everything that you can organically. And it's sad that we have to pay more for how we naturally are supposed to be eating.
Yeah, it is sad. But definitely more to come on that plant-based tip, because there definitely are other ways that you can
Yes.
get your proteins and all that stuff. So let's look forward to working with Christy Foreman of Holistic Wellness and Health in her presentation on how you can do
On
this
that.
the plant-based way. And then I'm gonna have my little commercial before we go into the stress and sleep, because that was a big thing for me. Folks, you're tuning into Naijha Speaks. Please like, subscribe, share, follow me at Naijha Speaks. Follow Ebony, Nurse E at State of the Body LLC. This program is supported by the Black Vet Society. Your tax deductible donation makes this happen. We want more programs like this. We want more online webinars that educate us on topics like this. Today, if you donate a minimum of $25, we're going to send you a signature Black Vet Society pin and a t-shirt. So that's today, not tomorrow, today, a minimum of $25. And I will connect with you directly and get that to you. We are fundraising mode right now for all of our 2026 programs. So we appreciate your support. Stress and sleep. Yes, a lot of stress for me for many, many, many years. And sleep has always been this, crazy thing, waking up 2:00, then doing work for an hour and a half, then going back to sleep. I got myself a grounding mat for the bed. Now I'm sleeping much better. But I was sleeping better before that mat came because I was working out and doing things to reduce my stress, like meditating, yoga, and stuff like that. But let's talk about how the stress and lack of sleep can impact menopause symptoms more than we realize.
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing, Naijha, that people have to realize is what exactly is stress. Because I think people look at their lives. I know when a naturopath asked me, "Are you stressed?" and to rate your stress from 0 to 10, and I just started laughing. Like, life is stressful. Like, what do you mean? Am I stressed? What does this question mean? But once I started looking deeper at my life, I saw there were stressors that I was dealing with that I didn't need to deal with. Life is going to be stressful. Things with your daughter may be stressful, or things with your husband may be stressful. But it's like, okay, I'm not going to get rid of them because they're stressful, right? I'm going to keep them, but if I'm working a job if I'm working a job that is just as stressful, and I know I have a skill set that I can take someplace else that may be less demanding, that right there I may need to consider. So I think we have to look at our life and see what is stressing us and where we can minimize the stressors, where we have to put boundaries up, where we have to say no, where we have to, remove ourselves from this committee or that committee because I need to spend more time, some at the gym or more time at the beach, or I can just give some examples of what I did when I was in a highly stressful state. When the weather broke, every month I was going to the beach. That was a demand. You know what I'm saying? And then if I vacationed, it wasn't just like, oh, I'm here, I'm there. No, it's like a retreat. I was going on walks. I was in the woods. Like, I was doing everything to decrease that stress. I did leave my job for a little while. I didn't work for a year and a half, and everybody may not have that luxury, but it helped me reset my priorities. I didn't have a hobby. I got a hobby. I started playing tennis. So it's just like, what am I doing that is slowly killing me? What can I do to bring me back alive so that I can continue to, work and be the person that I need to be as a mom, as a friend, as a wife, as an activist in your community as a business owner. You know what I mean? So I think people just want life to continue to look linear, but it's not. It's up and down and up and down. And it's how are you moving with those transitions? So people need to pay more attention to what is bringing them stress. And if possible, cut that out.
I am so glad that you said that because when I was going through all of my stress, I was picking and choosing those things that were bringing me down, causing anxiety. I can be a people pleaser, I can be a yes person. And I had to go through my transition of coaches, starting with personal,
Right.
business, and now holistic coach. And stress, we got to eliminate it. But people say minimize it. You're always going to have a certain level of stress, but you got to eliminate those things, like you said. And when I started vacationing, really vacationing, not going on a business trip and then combine with it, like totally focus on vacation and not thinking about anything that had to do with work or stress.
Right.
Totally turned my life around.
Totally.
And not
Totally.
caring what people think. Sometimes we're dealing with energy vampires that are around us, or people that have judgment of you for things that you do or not do.
Right.
Hey,
Right.
and we let some of that stuff get to us.
Right.
All of those are stressors.
Right.
So sometimes you do need a coach to go through that and navigate through that to get you out of that. So, folks, what's best for you. But 100% with you got to get rid of those stress. And the people that are vampires, the people that are energy drainers, the people that, are judgmental, toxic energy, all that, they got to go.
And some of those people are very close to you. They're your family members. You know what I'm saying? They could be your mom, they could be your dad. They could be I want to say more like adult children. You understand what I'm saying? Like people that you don't need to be as hands on with, you know what I mean? But you still trying to regulate and do things and stuff like that. So yeah. So I think that is the biggest thing, is that you have to assess your life, see what is bringing you the most stress, and if it's something that you can do about it, do something about it. And
Yeah,
then once that's controlled, the sleep will come.
100%, because I'm sleeping really good right now. And I see you there. Thank you, because I already know. Eula is a chef. She had to quit her job. No more fish fries. She used to make the banging this fried mushroom dishes, hands down. So I'm gonna miss
Ooh.
you. We gotta talk. Yes,
Right.
because that's stressful.
Right.
That's stressful. And yes, Leah, therapy definitely helps, and I've had my share of therapy also. Leah asked, are there specific vitamins that might help better or boost your mood during this time? I had to cut back on wine, because I was one of those, the stress, and then I drink wine, and people don't realize that those drinks add weight to you because of the sugar.
Right.
So I had to
Yeah.
transition off of that.
Yeah. I'm very, when they ask me about supplements and mood, I don't like to give specifics, but I can give you some generic things, cuz again, when I treat clients, it's very specific to that person. Everything is not for everybody. You know
And
what I mean?
she's great. You did a wonderful job with her. I'm telling
Yeah.
you.
So you definitely want to do some vitamin D. You definitely want to do some vitamin K. You want to do those combined together. You want to get outside as much as possible to help with mood. Some melatonin can help as well. But I don't give a list of just supplements. You know what I mean? We want to kind of be very specific with what the client needs specifically. I told her vitamin D, right?
Yeah.
Vitamin K. You want to do magnesium. You want to do omega 3s.
I got to do the clap
Um,
for that. That was a big thing, especially with my holistic practice. The magnesium, yeah, that's a big thing.
Yeah, you want to
Holy,
do it. Yeah, you want to do omega 3s. You want to get your and if you can get it in through what you eat, that would be great. Um, as Naja mentioned, the black cohosh, evening primrose, and ashwagandha. Those are adaptogens that can also help. So this is just general, but like I said, you really want to meet with a healthcare provider because you also want to take quality supplements. So not going to Vitamin Shop and just picking up something or Walmart or Target. If you work with a holistic practitioner or myself, which is a functional medicine provider, my supplements come from the United States. They are homegrown on a farm. These are quality supplements that you're getting. And so that's why I don't try to give out a lot of information because I just don't want you popping up at Walmart like, oh, let me get this and let me get that. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah.
yes,
But those are but those
100%.
are some. Yeah.
I
Magnesium,
know.
vitamin D. Yeah.
The ashwagandha. Well, I know I've always had issues with the vitamin D, so I've always been prescribed to take supplements of vitamin D. Ashwagandha is a natural. I've been taking ashwagandha with sea moss sometimes, or in a tea. There's
Mhm.
teas that you can have those stress yogi teas that may have
Yeah.
the ashwagandha in it. So definitely and then there's some stuff that I've been working with Soul Talks USA. They have these vegan gummies that you can take different things, whether it's for sleep, whether it's for energy focus, whether it's for building muscle. So I've just been working with their products and seeing how they work for me. But yeah, everyone's body is different, and you have to do your research. You have to work with your practitioner, like
Right.
you said. And anybody that knows me knows I'm not going to bring anybody on this show unless I've dealt with their service, promoting any services, promoting any products, promoting anything like that, unless I've worked with them. So I can
Right.
highly tell you, Ebony is very professional, very caring, and yeah, she's not going to suggest anything that it won't work. And if you don't like it, then that's fine. She's fine with it. There's a couple of things she recommended. I remember I was
Yeah.
having my teeth problems. I was like, no, we're not doing that, Ebony. I'm
Right.
not doing that. Like,
Right. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we work well together.
Yeah. And I wanted to also say too, with vitamin D, like a lot of people are chronically low in vitamin D. And one of the things that they're not aware of is that vitamin D is processed through the liver and it is activated, it becomes active in the kidneys. So if your liver is not detoxified and cleaned out, it can't break down and process vitamin D appropriately. If your kidneys are not filtering well, if they're not healthy, it can't give you the active form of vitamin D. So that's the other thing too. When you're picking up vitamin D supplements, you have to see is it in its active form. If it's not in the active form, you're taking the wrong vitamin D.
Mm,
So
that's very
you won't know that unless you're working with a provider.
right.
So, you have to be very aware of that.
Thank you for that. Leah, I love the questions. She's heard that there's more dryness that happens during this. What do you suggest? And I could definitely speak to that, Leah. I mean, I remember the time I bought some yoni eggs, and that was cool. Do what you gotta do. You know what I'm saying? But what would you suggest, Ebony?
So, in my late 30s, I had these symptoms. I had vaginal dryness, I had the night sweats, just everything. And so I thought, I was just, we had the heat up too high, different things like that. And then when I worked with my provider, that's when I realized that my hormones were not balanced. I had been on birth control and off and just different things like that you're getting extra estrogen, and then in what you're eating, if you're not eating organic and they're altering what it is that you're eating, you're also getting extra estrogen, right? If it's genetically modified, different things like that. So, once I started an anti-inflammatory diet and got on supplements, the dryness cleared up on its own. Me personally, I didn't use anything. I just changed the way that I ate, got on some supplements. The dryness corrected itself because my hormones balanced out. So, I think the most important thing is we've got to assess how you're eating. We've got to assess where your hormones are. And then the body will say, oh, you're giving me something good. It'll start to create cervical mucus and it'll start to get moist down there.
You are so right, Ebony. That 100% on it. The anti-inflammatory foods. I'm a green tea drinker, blueberry. Anything that's anti-inflammatory or antioxidant. It's on my list of things that I eat, and
That definitely helps.
definitely help. Um, the emotional and spiritual side of menopause. Why do you think this season often brings identity shifts for women?
I think a lot of our worth is being a woman and who we are. You know what I mean? Being able to produce a family, being able to please our man sexually. That's a lot of what our identity is in. And so when though if we develop vaginal dryness and it isn't pleasurable, and so we don't want to, be with our significant others, or where maybe we didn't have any children and we feel regretful for not having any children, or if our children are all grown and they've moved on. um I think that that can bring a shift in identity. Also, if you're working a job and you found your identity in that job, and now there's been changes with that job, because a lot of people have been losing their jobs, you understand what I'm saying, for whatever reason. um you have to go back to who you are. And that's why I believe that the emotional and spiritual side of menopause is very, very important, because you have these hormonal shifts and it's making you feel differently, and then just things may be changing in life. I think finding your identity in your spirituality and emotional health is most important, because that's the foundation of who you are. So if you have nothing, but you have your emotional and you have your spiritual health, then you will be able to stay consistent in this time of transition and not judge yourself. You understand what I'm saying? But if
Yeah,
you are consistent, and it can help you build momentum as well and give you new life, if that makes sense, because you have a firm foundation.
I'm so happy you mentioned that, because that's the foundation of me right now. Like before I became vegan, I was always on the spiritual. I'm Pisces, so I'm into astrology and numerology. And then when I transitioned into veganism, then you're adopting. I'm vegan, and then I had to go back into no, I'm Naija first. I'm
Right.
Naija, and my foundation is built on spirituality
Right. Mhm. Yeah.
first. And I'm a
Right.
woman, and I'm a
Yeah.
black woman. And this is a practice, one of many practices that I have. Let's
Yeah.
circle that. I am Naija,
Right.
and
Yes.
spiritual being living
Mhm.
this human experience in this
Right.
material world.
Mhm.
So I'm so glad that you mentioned that. And everyone's identity of, womanhood and being a woman is different. And it can be
Right.
different, and it can be sensitive, and it can be emotional, it can be a lot of things. So we definitely need this support system when we're going through these transitions that we feel make or break us as women.
Yeah. Right.
Yes.
Right. Yep.
I think we have one one last question that would be important to me, besides how we best connect with you. If you could leave the women that are watching now or rewatching this broadcast, you could leave them with one message about menopause, what would you want them to remember the most?
Oh, that they're not broken, that they are still who they are. They're just transitioning into an even better version of themselves. That their symptoms are real, that their experience matters, and that they have support and they have options available. You may have to do a little bit more digging for that, but your voice matters and what you're experiencing matters. And there is someone who cares enough to dig deep with you to get you answers. Um, Menopause isn't the end of vitality, it's a new chapter that can be lived with strength, with confidence, and purpose when the body is properly supported. So I will leave that.
I love it. Nurse E, how can people stay connected with you and follow what you're doing and stay abreast of anything? You may have your own, because I think you have like a podcast or a show that you do. How can we connect with you on that?
So if you're a YouTuber, I am on YouTube. My page is Candid Convos with Nurse E. And that's where I have discussions with different healthcare providers, people who have written books, or I try to connect functional medicine with just everyday activities. And so you can get education and teaching from that on Candid Convos with Nurse E on YouTube. I do share some of the same content on at State of the Body LLC, my IG page, and then I do put content on my Facebook page, Eboni McCoy Staton, which is linked with State of the Body LLC Instagram. You can always email me at stateofthebodyoasis@gmail.com. And in each of those platforms, it also gives you information to my Calendly, where you can book an appointment and or go to my Canva site and just look over my page and just know more about me, how you can make an appointment, how you can get to my YouTube, and FAQs about functional medicine as well.
Nurse E, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate you taking the time out to come. I know this was a long time coming for us to connect and get you on the show. We've been working on it for a couple of years, but timing is everything.
Yes.
The topic is hot. So folks, more to come on this, especially because I'm officially in it. So I'm going to want to learn more about it.
Yes.
Appreciate you. And let's get another hand clap.
Thank you.
All right. And then on that note, folks, again, $25 donate to blackbearsociety.org. Go to the website today to get you a pin and a t-shirt. We appreciate your support. Let's keep this platform, these conversations happening. Thank you for joining. Shout out to Leah and Eula and Jonelle, all of y'all for joining the conversation. Peace out.
Meeting you where you are. The meaning behind the slogan is that we meet the community where they are. On their journey towards holistic health, a plant-based lifestyle, and veganism, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. We do this through people, food, events, and culture. Our 6 pillars are birth, eating, education, empowerment, enlightenment, and events. We are Black Veg Society.